Cindy Huber, and I'm with the National Kidney Foundation of Wisconsin. So welcome to our spooky Halloween, I want to say show, but really it's not a show, but we have a great program tonight. I think you'll find our speaker very inspiring. We have people here in the room in Milwaukee, but we also have folks that have joined us from different parts of Wisconsin online. And so we're really grateful that our volunteer Merle will be monitoring questions. So people that are listening and watching online, you can type your questions in at any time, and Merle, a volunteer, will say the question here so everyone in the room can hear. And for those of you that are here in the room, we will have the ability for all of our online guests to hear your questions. So just when you speak up. We are just excited about tonight's program. So last month our program focused on how we can all take our stories and tell others about organ, tissue, and eye donation by approaching individuals in different faith communities. Because in November, the second week in November is Donor Sabbath. And I just thought another way that we could all take our stories and promote awareness of organ, tissue, and eye donation, the success of transplantation, the need for people to register to be organ donors. There are many ways to tell our story, and I've known Brenda, our speaker, for many, many years, and I have to say her story personally has inspired me from the very first day I met her. But she has really taken the story of her journey, her health journey, and the gift that she gave many years ago, and now has turned that gift and multiplied that gift to help children understand organ, tissue, and eye donation. And she has plans to do great, great things to influence the next generation. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce you to a great person, Brenda Cortez. Welcome, Brenda.
Thank you. What are we doing? Okay. That's cool. We need to go back. Oh, there we go. This is...
Yeah, it's
Oh, is it? Should I just hold it then?
Here, well, you can probably clip it across your neck.
Okay.
That'll do.
All right. We're ready? We're good? Okay. Well, good evening, everybody. As you all heard, I'm Brenda Cortez. So welcome to everybody in the room, and special welcome to my mom, Judy, and my husband, Sean. They're also here tonight. So thank you, everyone, for coming, and thank you to Cindy for inviting me to present about my story, which have turned into stories. So I really appreciate that. All right. So as you can see on the screen, I am a living kidney donor. So we'll start with my story a little bit. I donated on March 23rd, 2005, so it's been 12 and a half years. And at the time, my children were ages 7 and 11, and that's Kyle was 7 and Kaylee was 11. And my kidney went to another mom at our church and school. So my kids were in class with Pam. So the story, before the story. So in September of 2004, so just to kind of give you the timeline, I heard of Pam's need for a kidney, and I was listed as a donor, always on my driver's license, but never had ever thought too much more about it, never knew of anybody that actually needed an organ transplant. But then I asked Pam to help with an event at school, and she had shared with me at that time then that she was going to be needing a kidney transplant. So I just, at that moment, said, what do you need to do to be a kidney donor? And so the first thing was the blood type, and she was O positive, I'm O negative, and I'm like, okay, well, then what's the next step is to actually have the testing done. So that's what we went ahead and did. November then of that year, so a few months later, I learned that I was a match, and then we continued moving forward. And I say without hesitation because for me personally, the moment that I talked to Pam at school in September, I just knew at that moment that I would be a match for her. So when I actually got the confirmation that I was like, okay. There were concerns from family and friends. Oddly enough, I would say it was mostly friends. And that's something that I kind of included in my first book then is, I guess I just found it odd that people were questioning me about me wanting to donate. And it was mostly because it was to somebody that I wasn't related to. So I was a little shocked by that, but I think as I told you, I knew in my heart, and I knew that that was supposed to be a purpose, my purpose. I have too many things that I'm holding in my hand here. This one, I got this one. There we go. Okay. So after some further testing, which I think most of you might know, you have to do a bunch of different tests, make sure that I was healthy enough to actually be the donor. Here is a picture from the actual day of after the transplant when I was wheeled up to my room and the family finally got to come and see me. So that was in March, so Wednesday, March 23rd of 2005, here across the street at Freighter Hospital. And that's also an illustration in the book, so you'll see that coming up further. Unless you page through the book, you may have seen that, or if you've already seen the book. And then what I thought was cool personally was that I got to go home then that Sunday, which was Easter Sunday. So I thought that that was, for me personally, that was all part of God's plan, my purpose, and moving forward. So what inspired me then to actually want to share my story? So we're going to fast forward then a bunch of years to 2011, and then my daughter Kaylee wrote her essay to get into college. And to my surprise, that she wrote actually about the kidney donation and how it was scary for her as a child, but I had inspired her to want to be a better person, help others, and go into the medical field. So wow, just that was kind of a great feeling for me. And but then it made me think back and made me, reflect. So at the time of the donation, there's a lot of things you're thinking about. Yes, you have these younger kids, but didn't really think, how scary it probably really was for them. So I knew that I needed to do something to help other kids then going forward that had a parent or a loved one, grandparent, somebody that was having surgery, just to, in general, understand surgery, and then also as far as donating a kidney, and raise awareness then about organ donation, organ tissue, and living donation. So for my daughter, and I was her inspiration, but she ultimately then was my inspiration for me to really truly realize what my purpose and passion then was going to be. So not just the gift that I was able to give to that person, but what I'm supposed to continue to keep doing it to help others. So a couple months later then, early December, I had the idea in my head of the book, and I actually sat at Brookfield Square. I was working at my brother's kiosk. He was selling sports memorabilia there. And I had it in my head. It was not a busy night, so I had my notebook and wrote down the first draft. So I was not a professional writer. I'm getting a lot better at it now. But I knew I needed to get my thoughts down, and then I let family and friends read it and get their suggestions, and I made several revisions and added in dialogue, and I learned a lot. So finally then, 4 years later, and it was kind of a long journey just to get to that point of getting the book, but April of 2015, the book was finally released, and I was able to officially share my story. And there's what it looks like. So my mom is having surgery, a kidney story. And then you can see a picture of our family on the back of the cover. So back when the surgery took place, Kyle, the younger one, he was shorter, and then he grew, and and Kaylee didn't grow as much, so now he's the tall one. And then this was the picture that was sent to the illustrator, and so that's what the cover was designed from, that photo. And it's not as clear; it's hard to tell, but so basically, I'm going to go back once. So I had on a froggy robe, and then the illustrator put it into more of like pajamas. And then a lot of people asked, "Oh, is your husband a Bears fan?" But it was after we gave the final okay that I realized that he had put him in Bears colors and not Packer colors. So, and then you'll learn a little bit about why further on, why the pictures they have the captions written by my daughter that way. So here's some more illustrations. So the one that I said you'll see more about, that one of myself laying in the hospital bed. So that was that picture we showed you earlier. And then I don't know if you remember what it looked like, but they had to move Grandma Judy, my mom, over to the foot of the bed because I said Grandma's big butt was in the way, so they had to move her over. The kids always like that one when I say that. I know she doesn't always necessarily like it, but it makes everybody laugh, so it's good. And then another illustration from the book, which it's not the science project that my daughter did, but my daughter and Pam's daughter Lizzie, a couple months after the kidney transplant, they did their science projects together. So my daughter did hers on the kidney donor, and Lizzie did her side on the recipient. So I actually learned more then from what I knew, and it was already after the transplant had happened. And then another where the card, that was the real card that my daughter had made. And so they were able to incorporate it into the illustration. Then, so I was able to connect with Blood Center, Wisconsin Donor Network. They're all kind of tied together. Donate Life Wisconsin, and so Dottie, the orange dot on our driver's license. So she was able to come to a few different events that I was at and help me promote the book and organ donation awareness. And then I was also able to share what my story is about, and again, organ donation awareness on the Morning Blend TV show that's on Channel 4 here in Milwaukee. So that was exciting. So moving on then to how the next book came about. So with that book, people are like, oh, you should get that book, to help kids at children's hospitals. And I said, well, actually, it's more for a child to relate that has the parent or the grandparent in the hospital and not necessarily themselves. So with that thought in mind, then I wanted to do something to actually help the kids going through themselves. So I created a character that the children could relate to, and that would be the guy you're seeing there, Howl the Owl. So I came up with the slogan, help others with love, and it's something that I've always tried to do the best I can. I'm not always the best at it, but I really try hard is to help others, and I feel like that's what organ donation really truly is about, is you're really helping others, whether it's your living donor or you're the donor that you want to donate if you're not here anymore. And also, if you're a family member and you've decided to donate organs for your loved one that's not around anymore, you're definitely helping others with love. So Howl the Owl, and I think he's just a great tie-in. And so his story then is he gets a heart transplant. So that book then is truly meant to help the kids that are going through it themselves. And I had to pick an organ for him. Thought the heart went well. So hopefully that kids that are going through any kind of transplant, though, can still relate that even though Hal got the heart transplant, if they're getting kidney or liver, that they'll still be able to somewhat relate to it. So I've got to meet then some pretty cool people that have inspired me. And so one of them would be Autumn, and she is the little girl that is hugging the plush owl. She has the purple pajamas on. And so a friend of mine, Ellen, she had come to the book signing this last spring for Howl Gets a Heart. And I wasn't aware that she was buying the book and the plush guy, and I had cute little tattoos of Howl as well. But she was buying that to send to a little girl that used to live here in the Milwaukee area that moved away to North Carolina. And she had a heart transplant as a baby, and so now she's 4 years old. And so they sent it, she sent it off to them. And I would have never known had they not had this Facebook page, which is for Autumn's Battle, they call it. And they thanked my friend and tagged her, so I actually got to see it. So I guess the big thing that really was pretty amazing to know that I actually, like, it did what it was supposed to do. It served its purpose, at least so far for one kid. And when we got home from the hospital, we had a package waiting for us. The kids opened it and love it, and it truly made our day, because they literally had just gotten home from testing at the hospital for different things, you know, make sure her heart was still working okay. And so Ellen, that they really didn't know each other, but she had sent her the book and the plush owl, and they read the book, and they all said it sounded like them. That's exactly what their family went through. So it was very touching for me to know that, again, like I said, it was doing what it was supposed to do and help the little kids. So I don't know if any of you had seen this story at all about Kendall and Chloe. They live in Brookfield, Wisconsin here. And somebody from the city, from Franklin, where I live, knew the mom, Christine, and saw that I was having the book signing and told her about it and said that you need to connect with this lady that wrote this book, because their twin little girls had heart transplants, and that would have been probably like about 1.5 years ago here at Children's. And so Chloe had hers first, I believe in May, 1 year ago May, and then Kendall had hers in July. So they were both, I think they were right around 1.5 years old when they had their heart transplants. So Chloe had an issue first, which alerted them to obviously check her twin. But so why I include them as well is so they started a foundation then to kind of share their story and help others and help the kids here at Children's Hospital. So they started The Beat Goes On. And I also got to meet them and help with a fundraising event that they did too. And then Howell got to make his debut on the Morning Blend. So that was this past April, or the end of March. But we got to share his story and again share more information and awareness for organ donation. So other events, the one on the left-hand side of the screen, that's the company I actually work for, Abra Auto Body and Glass. That's my day job. And they were supportive and had bought books for me to hand out at the Kidney Walk a couple years ago. So I got to set up there, and all the kids that were there got to get a copy of the book. And then another friend, she wasn't anybody that I knew, but I got to know her and finally got to meet her a year and a half ago. She's a living kidney donor. She lives up in the Wisconsin Rapids area, and she donated to another mom at UW. So her name is Jill, and then she ended up starting the Central Wisconsin Gift of Life group, and so they support the UW organ tissue donation program, and also they support the house that's out there and restoring, Cindy, what's Restoring Hope, thank you. So the money that they raise for their annual scavenger hunt then goes to that. So that's just my setup there. And I was sharing a table with Jim Bryan, who was promoting for Team Wisconsin for the Transplant Games of America. And so that was almost a couple years ago that we were at that. So I'll talk more about the transplant games in a little bit. So I've also got to meet a lot of different kids and share the message of the kidney book and now Howell at school visits and different events. So the one where the girl has the light blue shirt on and I'm sending the Howell book, her mom is in need of a kidney. So it worked out well that I went to that particular school. So I know it really touched home for her. And then my mom is reading in the middle picture, so she comes along when she can. She can't tell it's her even. And helps read, because that one particular school that we're there for the whole day, and we do the same presentation basically 5 times in a row. So when I'm reading those books and talking for that long, it gets to be a lot, so she helps read. And then the kids get to meet Grandma Judy, because she's Grandma Judy in the book. And then this little girl holding Howell, the plush Howell and the heart book, I got to meet her at the event for The Beat Goes On, their fundraiser event this last summer. And ironically, she is going to need a heart and a kidney transplant in the next couple of years. So I know she's at a Waukesha school that I'm hoping to connect with and get in front of those kids and teach them more. But the one thing that was pretty exciting to me with the school visits is how well received the kids were with the information that I was sharing with them, and they were eager to learn about it. They were excited, because I think that, you know, it's talked about when you go, when you're in high school and you're going to get your driver's license, because now we have that mandatory however long that they at least need to be informed about organ donation before they would decide to get that orange dot on their driver's license. But now I'm giving them a little bit more information. And the other thing that I really like is, so what are kids going to do if they liked something that they're excited about or something new when they get home? They're going to tell their parents. So now I'm connecting with kids and hopefully then adults too that maybe didn't consider or didn't know much about organ donation. And so maybe now their child has brought up some important points for them to think about, to possibly consider if they haven't yet. So Bryn, the little girl, I'm friends with her mom, and then I also had got to talk with Bryn's grandma, because she ended up being a living kidney donor to a family friend. I think it's coming up on 2 years, possibly 3. So Bryn was excited then to bring the books and Howell just a month ago to school for show and tell. And then this little guy, TJ, he, from what I understand, is my biggest fan. And I finally got to meet him when I told his mom about an event that I was at. But she had bought the book from me, and it was basically his favorite book. He would have her read it to him, and then I think he had it memorized because he was 5 years old. And so he wasn't able to read the book on his own, but he loved asking questions, and he feels that he knows like our whole family. So he actually had worn out the book. So when he came to that event, I gave him another one because his first book was literally worn out. So I just wanted to include a couple of slides that I include at the school presentations. So this one is letting the kids know what the major organs are that can be donated. And then it's grayed out, but we do address, and there's another one that I didn't include, but we also address that you can donate tissue. So we address that it's bone and skin and cornea, but we don't go into as much detail about those. Another one and a lot of these I actually just save when I'm looking at Facebook, different groups that I'm a part of, and when I see cool things that people are sharing, and I save the picture. So this one must have been with, because the email listed at the bottom says Kidney for Jenna. So again, that was another person sharing their need, sharing their story, that Jenna was in need of a kidney, obviously. But this is one that I shared with the kids so they could see when I tell them that I was, the living kidney donor, and that's how that particular incision, though, I let them know that instead of it being horizontal for me, it was vertical, and that I explained that the kidney gets put in kind of floating in the abdomen area, so they find that pretty fascinating. And for me personally, I never knew that until the whole kidney transplant experience, that I just thought, oh, they just connect one and like connect it right exactly where they were, but that's not the case. So some thank you cards from kids. So the one that's in the white, that one made me laugh the most, and that was about that picture, this slide that I just had showed you before. So I didn't think that it was anything that bad, but apparently this boy, he thought that I was showing him guts. So thank you for showing us the guts and all of the other stuff. So that one really made my family and I laugh. And then it's probably hard for you to read some of these, but it was really cool to see that the kids were saying that they were glad that I taught them, and that they might even donate a body/organ. I love the, keep calm and be a donor. And the other one, you helped me know how important donating organs is. I can tell my parents exactly what I told you guys before, and friends. So awareness spreads even more. Part of that got cut off. And then the best part was thank you, and you get a cupcake. And then another one, you're a hero. Thank you for teaching us about your story. I hope you live strong with one kidney. And then I hope I can be just like you and give up a kidney. So I thought that was pretty awesome. And then this particular school, I got to go back again this past year. So it's instead of a STEM day, they call it STEAM day, because they incorporate art. So that's the A. But I have been designated for the science for 5th grade. And this year, so I was connected for my first mentoring job with a lady, and Freighter connected me with Colleen because they thought that it was a good fit because she was going to be donating to another mom at their church. And so they all had kids, and so I'm like, oh yeah, that would be great. So talked with her, and then my husband and I met her, and her husband had dinner with them. Find out I went to high school with her husband. So that was the first kind of, wow, that's pretty crazy. And then they actually, so they have 2 sons, and then they adopted 5 children. So their 2 sons are around the same age as my children now. And then they have the 5 kids, various different grades, but it just so happened that 2 of them were in 5th grade at the school that I was going to be presenting at for, and this was going to be a month before her surgery. So I was presenting in April, she was going to be donating in May, and so 2 of those kids were actually in the classes. It was 5 different classes that my mom and I presented to. So it was a very touchy thing. The daughter, so it was a boy and a girl, and the daughter did not want Colleen to be a part of it. She wanted to come and like be a helper in the room, and the daughter was freaking out. No. So I was kind of expecting some crying, or I didn't know what to expect. I didn't really know who she was either, but then when I was doing the presentation, she willingly said, I have your book at home, my mom's going to be donating. And then later on, a couple days later, Colleen shared with me that she didn't bring anything up to the daughter, but the daughter brought it up to her and really learned a lot from the presentation that I did, and said that she too would like to be a kidney donor someday if she could. So I knew that I had done my job there, and the purpose was fulfilled, which again, that was, I think, a whole bigger purpose in the works for that one, because it was just truly amazing that they were in those classes that I happened to be at. All right. I also like to incorporate a little bit of humor into the presentations. So here's just a couple that I do for the kids. And I really, really like the one where he's looking at his suitcase and or his watch, and he's got his suitcase in hand because he's getting ready to move. He's moving on to his new home. And then they kind of get the picture with Mr. Potato Head. That's what organ donation is about. All right, so the transplant games. So my husband and I, we attended last year, so it was in June of 2016. Those games were in Cleveland. That was the first time that I had ever participated. I really didn't participate. I was just kind of part of Team Wisconsin, more observing, and just wanted to go and see what it was all about. I really didn't know much about it. And I know here in our live audience today, we have one of Team Wisconsin members, Jack, and your big thing is the ballroom dancing, right? And swimming, okay. So Jack was somebody that I got to meet at the flag signing before the games, and then again in Cleveland. So that was just a truly fun and amazing experience. So the next games are coming up next year, and if you haven't ever participated, you might want to consider checking it out, because even if you don't want to do any of the events, they're not all sporting events. They're a bunch of different, so Jack, you can help me out. And Cindy, I know you know a lot about it too, because you used to help, you said, head up Team Wisconsin. So there's ballroom dancing, swimming. There's a 5K that's open to everyone, right? Basketball. I know they do cornhole, which here in Wisconsin, most of us call that bags or beanbag toss or whatever. But yeah, bowling, Texas Hold'em was another one. Any other ones? I know there's more. Volleyball? Okay. there's the big TGA village, and they have all kinds of exhibitors there, so you can check that out. And then the cool thing is the opening ceremony is really, really amazing. And then they have the donor, what is the donor one called exactly? The donor tributes ceremony or something. So that one, very touching, a little bit sad, but still very, very touching. Excuse me. So one of the families that my husband and I met when we were there were the Spitzers, and Chris is the dad, Jessica the mom, and then little Bella. And so ironically, then that ended up playing into part of the whole Howell family of books. So book number 2 in Howl the Owl Organ Donation Series, and it's actually book 3 for me because it's the 3rd book that I've written. And this one actually just came out today. So I'm pretty excited. It's been a work in progress. I just picked them up from the printer. So I'll tell you a little bit about Howl and Bella and her family. So when I wrote the Howl Gets a Heart book, I also knew that I wanted to write others, and I wanted to write something to help children who have lost somebody who has passed on, and then they're an organ donor. Like, what does that mean? And but little did I know that when I met Bella and her family, that they would be the inspiration for that. So 2 months later, Bella's dad, Christopher Spitzer, passed away unexpectedly. So that was 2 months after the games, and that gave me I already had the idea, like I said, in my head, but that basically gave me the story then that I knew I wanted to write about. So that was August of last year. I wrote the first draft. So now here we are on October 31st, and it's an actual book that we can hold in our hands. So that's pretty exciting. Just to be able to honor Chris, the family, talk about the games. So that picture then, the real picture, the real Spitzer family, and then that's them in the illustration as the owl family. We had to convert them to owls. And then I ended up working closely with Bella's mom, Jessica, and shared with her, to get her permission, number one. I said, I can change. I don't have to use Bella. If you don't want any part of this, just let me know. But she was actually honored and found comfort and a little bit of healing that I was doing this. And so we worked together then to adjust certain things in the story to keep it simple for the purpose of kids. We wanted to have it be about donating organs, but Chris actually passed away from a heart attack, so he was ultimately a cornea tissue donor and heart valves, but just to keep it so that the kids would understand more. And I did address this with Cindy a little bit earlier, that I talk about the cornea transplant, but a lot of times the kids think that it's like the whole eyeball, and they get a little like weirded out. So still have to address a way to talk about that where they understand it maybe a little bit more. So, but just to keep the story simple for everyone to understand, we went with that he actually had donated organs, and of course that was every intention that he would have donated any possible organ that he could have. All right, so as I said today then, it's released today, and it can be ordered on Amazon starting tomorrow. And then talking about Amazon, have you signed up yet? If you are with Amazon, or if you order anything, is to be Amazon Smile. And I don't know if you know what Amazon Smile is, but you can support basically a foundation such as the National Kidney Foundation of Wisconsin. It's super easy. I put the link there, and just pick the charity that you want. And if there's you'll see, I think it's at the top left of the screen, and then you can designate, then there would be a list, or you can search for it. But it's super, super easy. So all 3 books are available on Amazon, well, starting tomorrow, for the new one. But also Donate Life. I have a web page, so for Donate Life America. They were kind enough to let me have basically my page as kind of, they call it a phantom page. So you have to type in the whole address. So donatelife.net/books. And then we're going to do a book signing event coming up. So Bella and her mom live just outside of Madison. And so we're doing one this coming Friday in the Madison area at Cool Beans Coffee Cafe, which is by the Easttown Mall. So 5 to 7 this coming Friday. And so Bella and Jessica will be there. And Bella is going to be signing some books as well. She's 6 years old now. So it's pretty exciting. And then for those of you in the Milwaukee area that aren't here tonight, next week, Wednesday, in Franklin at the Point After Pub and Grill, which is 76th and Rawson. And then we also have a Facebook page, Howl the Owl. Also one for my mom is having surgery. So if you wanted to connect there and follow along, get more information, message me. And then, so book 3 in the Howl series is that one. I still, I have the ideas, I have it in my head, but I still have to actually write it. So Howl learns about dialysis. So very much appropriate for kidneys. That one, I'm hoping that I can get that one out later next year. And if anyone is willing to let me interview them about their dialysis experience, I would really appreciate that. So you can email me, message me, however. But I would love to get a bunch of different people's takes on the dialysis experience, because I haven't been through it personally. So to be able to write it and portray it, that would be very helpful. So to finish up, I've shared with you my story, my journey, and how I've gone about sharing that to help others and raise awareness. There's many things, though, that you can also do to share your story in different ways, whether it just be that you're volunteering for the Kidney Foundation. I know we have our tech guys that are in here helping out, and they're both recipients. The UW, if you're in the Madison and other outlying areas and up north, part of their organ tissue program, Donate Life Wisconsin, Blood Center, Wisconsin Donor Network for things in Milwaukee and like southeastern Wisconsin. The other groups that I've shared with you as well, and whether it's just be you're volunteering, you're talking to people, there's just many different things. I apologize for the coughing. So you can, there's a lot of different Facebook groups. I don't know if everybody's aware, but you can start your own, you can join in, and a lot of people are looking for support in those groups and asking questions. The Kidney Foundation, the annual Parkway 5K, I'm sorry, the Kidney Mile, and then the Capital City 5K, which is in Madison every July. You can start a web page, start a blog. Kidney recipient Mike Nickloy, him and his wife, they have a newer web page that you can go check out. You gotta be kidneyme.com. So that one's the cute one that they came up with. But another one would be it's a living donor group that I'm a part of, and a lady named Kate. Excuse me, man. She has created decals that she sends out. And so I have one on my car, and it's in the shape of a kidney, and it says living donor. So just another way to just be out there spreading awareness, letting people know, like, they see it, they can think, oh, a living kidney donor. So really the possibilities are limitless, endless. Find your inspiration, your passion, and then share, be kind, and help others. Any questions? Sorry, I'm coughing. Anybody here in the room have any questions? Anything came through online? Nope. Okay. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to share my stories with you all. And if you have any questions in the future, then just message me or email me, and I'd be happy to talk and connect.
All right. Well, I think